21, I could split the Earth's core with my bare hands. Fucking, you're 21 years old, you have unlimited energy. You should have a six-pack on fucking accident at 21.
When you have the youth, the masculine youth of the world, thinking for themselves, that's pretty scary to authority.
My main message is to resist the slave mind. I say this all the time. I don't think anyone's life will get worse if they train hard and get stronger. I am so scared of being that person. The idea of that terrifies me to the point where I don't even want to accept that as a reality that can possibly exist.
Especially if you're a man, and especially in the Western world, you need to find a tribe of people you can trust and people you interact with, and you need to take...
Get ready to absorb the wisdom of a champion and take the first step towards a life of victory, abundance, and unparalleled success. This isn't just a video. It's your gateway to a new, empowered you. Bring a coffee and don't get distracted. This video is life-changing for you.
And there has to be a point where you stand up as a man and society stands up and says, yes, I'm intolerant of certain things. If someone broke into my house and tried to just start making dinner, I'd be like, whoa, who are you? Like, be tolerant. No, I will not be. Who the fuck is this guy? You know, like.
It depends on what food is cooking. Right?
Well, I mean, there has to be a line in the sand. And the reason they keep talking about tolerance, diversity, inclusion, tolerance is not because they care about different people of different races or different beliefs. Certainly not beliefs, because you're not allowed a different belief. That's the number one thing. But it's because they want you to just sit down and swallow the pill and allow yourself to be brainwashed and not stand up for anything.
I do believe that since the dawn of human time, every single king with any kind of empire was constantly at war. And I think if you're going to become one of the most famous people on the internet, you're going to be at war. And you'd be a fool to become massively influential and then cry about the fact that you end up in constant battles. It doesn't matter if you're Napoleon or Charlemagne or Genghis Khan. There's always someone prodding the edges of your empire, trying to find weakness, see what a little bit of land they can take. And I think it's always been the same. And right now, I guess you could say, to a degree, I certainly have an empire and I'm massively influential. And there's a degree of, I wouldn't say jealousy, but there's certainly some ambitious people who are trying to damage it. I think that's what it is.
The truth is, the reason most men act the way they do is because they know that if push comes to shove, the entire force of the legal system will always side with the female. So why does the man come home after working a long 10, 11 hours in the coal mine, ask for a cup of coffee, his woman tell him to fuck off, continue to have no sex for 3-4 years, his kids don't respect him, he's semi-depressed, nearly suicidal, but he doesn't get a divorce? Well, we know why. Because what's the option? You're going to lose the house, you're going to lose the kids, you're going to be stuck paying for her bills and allowing her to go on endless dates. You're out the game because it's extremely difficult to find a mate nowadays unless you're a top-tier male. So what choice do you have? It's a matriarchal society. Females have all the power in the West. So like any society, if you're the class which is attacked or the class which is ostracized, which men are, you're going to lose your fighting spirit. You're just going to think, well, the best way to survive is just to be nice to everybody. And I'm just nice. Do. And that's what's happened. Because there really is, unless you have that spark, unless you have what it takes to truly build a life which is unique and build a life which puts you beyond the controls of these enforcement mechanisms, then the safest way to live is to be a simp. It's not easy to be like me and run my mouth. I've lived the consequences of talking. I know what can happen. And I'm sure you've been there too with the shit on Twitter and blah, blah. It's not, most people can't put up with this.
When you have the youth, the masculine youth of the world, thinking for themselves, that's pretty scary to authority. Because it's the masculine youth of the world that is, one, the revolutionaries, and two, also, that's the backbone of the slave force. If you need people to go die in a ditch in Afghanistan, you need them. If you need people to work bullshit jobs in a coal mine with no health care, you need them. If you need people to blindly comply to bullshit, you need them more than anybody, more than you need the feminists and the liberals. You need the real men to go out there and comply with the bullshit, to live a shitty existence, to purport and prop up a system.
The warrior class.
The warrior class, right? And if enough of these men stand in one place and say, this is enough, that's when a revolution happens. So this is the most dangerous group of the demographic that the Matrix and the people are trying to control, and they have to have a narrative over. And that's why they're trying to weaken them in every regard. And when I'm sitting there saying, don't listen to the bullshit, become physically strong, think for yourself, prioritize your brotherhood above what the fucking Matrix is telling you, do not blindly comply, resist the slave mind, all these things I'm saying, they just sat there one day and said, wait, the most popular person on the planet is saying, don't listen to our bullshit.
delete. I believe that this war can't be avoided. And a lot of people ask me, why with my money do I not do one of two things, which is one, vanish. Because I could just delete everything and shut up, right? I could just go away.
But that's not you.
That's not me. And I think that God would be disappointed in me. So I think God's given me this platform to tell the truth, so I'm going to do it. Or the second thing is I could sell out to the system. I could cut.
It's also not you.
It's not me. I could sell to the system, say what they want me to say, promote the things they want me to promote, sell shit to kids, be a piece of shit, and then they'll let me live.
But then you just remove the only thing that you do own, and it's your soul.
Absolutely.
And you don't want them to take that away.
No, exactly. I need to keep something.
Yeah.
So it ain't worth giving that up for a bit more money because I have unlimited money anyway.
Yeah, but plus every time you swipe that card when you're gone, you're like, "Fuck my life, dog. This is ain't."
Oh, completely. What do you have if you don't look in the mirror and be like, "Yeah, I did the right thing"? Then what do you even have?
Oh, boom! Not pride, but integrity.
Okay. Well, we could link the two. You look in the mirror and be proud of yourself. But it's interesting. No, but it's interesting the points you've made. It's given me something to think about. It's certainly true. But that's why I'm gearing up for war so heavily, because this war, when people ask me why I don't try and avoid it in the two ways we just described, I don't think most people understand that this war is coming for everyone. It can't be avoided. You're either going to become someone like me who's fighting against it, the counterculture, or you're going to buy into it and be a victim of it. I don't think any man who wakes up and accepts the garbage that the Matrix tells them, that, yeah, it's okay to be depressed, like we just talked about. Yeah, you should be running around doing perkies and Adderall and consuming porn and sleeping with a bunch of hoes. And yeah, go to school and get an education and get in debt. And then go get a mortgage and get in debt. And then 9 to 5 and just slave away. And you'll be retired when you're 74. It's going to be fine. All the things they push, all the standardized mechanisms that a man's supposed to live his life by, I believe lead to crippling depression and sadness anyway. I don't think that makes anyone happy. So this war is twofold. You can either fight against the system and be its enemy like I am, or you can accept the system and then you're going to be fighting against yourself in your head, because now you're your own enemy because you listen to the system and you hate yourself and you hate your life. Yeah. So what do you want to do? If you can't avoid fighting, do you want to turn on yourself or do you want to turn on your enemy? Every single part of me is on my team. My mind, my hands, my feet, everything, my teeth, you name it. If it goes to war, I've got every single weapon at my disposal. So when people say to me, why am I fighting this war? I say, you're in the war too. You're just going to be a casualty of it. You're going to be a forgotten name. You're not even a name. You're going to be a number. In wars, it's interesting. In wars, if you look at any war, they'll talk about 12,000 people died here. And one of them was this guy. There's names and there's numbers. So if you're going to go to war, you can decide, do you want to be a name or a number? Because people are going to die. People are going to die regardless. And this is why I teach the things I teach. I say to men, listen, you need to become as strong as possible. You need to make a bunch of money. You need to prepare. You need to have 7 passports in 7 different countries. And you just start sitting there getting paranoid and panicking and getting things done. This is why I push masculine excellence, because when they come for you, when they come for us all, if you have no weapons to defend yourself, you're going to be one of the 12,000 in the ditch.
So you're going to be numbers.
At least when they kill me, they know who they killed. At least they'll say they killed 12,000 men and Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
At least I get that. You have to aim for something. But this war can't be avoided, and everyone at home doesn't seem to realize. They're scared of a message. They're always going to be scared of any message that comes from somebody that people idolize and respect, which is basically telling people to be strong physically and mentally and to resist the slave mind and to think for themselves, because their number one agenda is to create worker drones. They don't want you to think for yourself, which means that to a degree you need to be weak, both mentally and physically. If you're weak, both mentally and physically, one, you're not prepared to defend your ideas, but especially if you're mentally weak, this is such a big point of it. And this is why I get so much flack for saying depression isn't real and all these things. If you're mentally weak and you're concerned in your own mind about even living day-to-day life because you find it such a struggle, there's no way you're going to take on a larger battle than yourself. You're not going to start resisting enslavement. You're not going to start fighting against COVID mandates. You're not going to be doing any of that stuff because you're too busy looking in the mirror, crying your eyes out. You're selfish. You're self-obsessed. Happy people don't do that. Happy people, okay, my life is good. I'm happy. I want my family to be happy. I want my community to be good. I care about my country. That's why they don't want you to be happy. They want you to be miserable, weak, and they want to delete any morality from your brain because it's a baseline morality that prevents them from installing the slave programming. By getting you to a point where you no longer think for yourself, they can just tell you anything is true. That's what they're doing to us right now, Zuby. What they're doing is convincing people to ignore their own eyes. When you walk into the toilet as a woman and you see a big man and you have to pretend that that's not a man, you have to pretend it's not. Because if you acknowledge what your own eyes are telling you, you're the enemy, right? Once they can convince you to ignore your own eyes, well, that's the end of the game, isn't it?
Now it doesn't matter if they see the sky is blue because the media said the sky is red. And that's the final level of slave programming they're trying to get us to. They want us to ignore our own eyes, ignore our own ears, ignore our innate morality, because we're all born with an innate morality inside of us. We believe certain things are wrong and right instinctually. They want us to ignore that. Get rid of all of it, empty brains, empty hard disks, and plug in the new program for whatever they think is applicable at the time. And it's going to be tyranny and slavery. What else would they want to program into us?
My main message is to resist the slave mind. I say this all the time. To understand that every single thing you're being told has an agenda behind it, or you wouldn't be told it otherwise. To examine every strongly held belief you have and try and identify where it comes from and why you have it. I sit and argue with people, I discuss things with people, and they so fervently believe a point. And I say, why do you believe that so much? Like, do you have personal experience? No, but I saw the news. Why do you believe? The news told you X, and now you are desperate. You will sit here for hours arguing that point. A lot of people are completely empty vessels, ready to be programmed. And I try and tell people, listen, to just stop for a second and understand that the things they're telling you to believe are not necessarily for your benefit. The people who make the rules don't make the rules for the benefit of everybody. They make the rules for the benefit of the people who make the rules.
Yeah.
It's the game. So telling people to resist a slave mind and just be critical thinkers, keep their brain open, pay attention to things, be perspicacious, that's the general theme. And it doesn't matter whether you're left, right, liberal, man, woman, etc. It's just think for yourself. That's the general. I talk often about the importance of trauma as a man. I think that if you were to find the most interesting or most capable men on the planet, they've had the most trauma-filled lives. I just think that trauma is what teaches you. We talked earlier about how you have to have lessons taught to you the hardest way. If you were to call a Navy SEAL and ask him to protect you going into a building full of assailants, you'd like to think that guy's been through some stuff. You'd like to see some scars, right? You wouldn't want Mr. Freshface to turn up. This is the reason why we instinctively don't trust youth. Because you look at a kid, if a wealth manager walks in and he's 18, you're like, oh, you don't know about life. Nothing's hurt you yet. That's why we trust age. That's why they say that wisdom you must grow into wisdom. You can't just pick it up, right? Trust your elders, listen to your elders, etc. These are age-old ways of thinking. So lessons and trauma, and the more you go through, the better of a man you are. And if you were to find the best men on the planet, I guarantee they've been through a bunch of terrible things. And if you listen to podcasts from any of the most interesting people on the planet, usually they've had hard, terrible lives. And you can use that trauma to become a better person, or you can let that trauma consume you and destroy you. But I thank God for all of it, because it gave me endless power to become the person I am. If you're truly angry or truly unhappy, then you can't sleep. And if you can't sleep, then you get twice as many hours as everybody else to become monumentally successful. So there's advantages. There's advantages to difficult things.
You know, I've never been to like a music concert, and people ask me why, and I said, I just look at it and I feel embarrassed. I look at someone up on a stage dancing around, and I look at hundreds of thousands of peasants in the crowd. Just yeah. I'm like, it's I feel cringe. It's like secondhand embarrassment when I see these festivals and everyone's losing their mind, or these music concerts. I genuinely feel embarrassed for the people who go, because to me that is a form of worship. Like, you can listen to the music at home for free. You don't have to wait in that line and stand out in the cold. Like, I don't know. Perhaps it was a bit extreme, but I've always known that they're trying to give us false idols to some degree. And when I speak to atheists, they go, oh, I don't believe in God. But they've signed up so hard to the liberal woke agenda. They're as religious as anybody, but they're just believing in the wrong things. They're believing in degeneracy, and they're believing in the work of the devil. So humans always need something to believe in. And it's a great thing you said about your own desires. It's like, one guy I was talking to since my conversion says, it's interesting that somebody with everything, all the Western world, everything somebody could want has now converted. And I said, yeah, because even before my conversion, I understood that hedonism is a black hole, and you can never fill it. You're never going to be able to have enough girls to be happy with girls. You're never going to be able to have enough money to be happy with money. You're never going to be able to, drink enough to be happy with drinking. Like, it's a black hole, and you can pour endless things down it, but you'll never fill it up. And you need to have some degree of self-restraint. And I've always been a very disciplined person. I've never made mistakes. But certainly, the higher power is going to give you more satisfaction in your heart than Endless insanity.
This is why they fear male agency so much, because when men truly wake up and decide to be the best versions of themselves, they're hard to control because all these control mechanisms fall by the wayside. They don't want the porn anymore. They don't want the antidepressants anymore. They don't want the garbage anymore. And now you have a whole bunch of men who actually want truth and honor and respect, and they want to live for something. And then what are they going to live for? They're going to want to be brave. They're going to want to do the right thing, regardless of how dangerous it may be for their own personal circumstance. And that sounds like a difficult population to enslave. And that's what's scary.
I don't think anyone's life will get worse if they train hard and get stronger. I don't see how your life can detriment from that. Maybe you could find some extreme scenario, but as a general rule to everybody, go gym, you're a weakling, go get strong.
Yes.
I think that's a good general point. Same thing.
So first is to fix your temple.
First point, absolutely. The first point is to improve your body. That's the first thing you can do. So when you're asking me, the man who has no father and he wants to live a good, righteous life inside of his home, I don't know all of his background. I don't know his capabilities. I don't know his mental state. I don't know where he lives. I don't know anything. But I know that if he gets stronger, he'll stand a better chance of doing it. Because you also learn mental discipline by doing that, which is also a good thing to learn. When I teach people saying, listen, you need to go become as rich as possible, the reason I'm doing that is not just so that you make money, which is the time and energy of other people. It's also all the lessons you'll learn along the way. You're going to learn how to manage people, manage staff, manage stress. You're going to learn how to talk confidently and go to meetings. You're going to learn how to be organized and on time. You're going to learn how to be punctual. You'll learn a bunch of things if you learn how to make money. So I say you need to go get as much money as possible and become as strong as possible. Because I believe if you do those two things and start to succeed in them, you can extrapolate and take all of the lessons from those two things and apply it to anything, including a relationship. It takes discipline for a relationship. It takes commitment for a relationship.
People get lazy when they get in a relationship.
Absolutely. So if you're a disciplined person who always goes to the gym, if you're good at managing stress and controlling your temper from high pressure business meetings, both of those things will apply to your relationship and make you better at running a household.
100%.
I see these people apologize and stuff. I'm like, what are you doing? Why?
Yeah.
You know, like my biggest ever outrage is when, this was about 4 years ago, is when I was still verified on Twitter before I got banned. And I said depression wasn't real. And I know that's like a really controversial take. And my point was very simple. My point is that depression is a natural instinct inside of men. And it's something that is designed to show you that you need to change something about your life. If like you go to jail and you're depressed, it's not because you've caught depression. It's because you're in jail. This is why. So if you feel depressed, you need to wake up and go, well, why am I depressed? And how can I change this? I had people message me saying, you don't understand how it feels. I'm fat and I can't get a girlfriend because I'm depressed. I said, no, you're depressed because you're fat and you can't get a girlfriend.
Right.
You got it the wrong way around. So when I said depression wasn't a clinical disease and it's simply the result of not living a life that you truly enjoy and you're not happy with, it blew up. It went huge. I had Hollywood stars. I had J.K. Rowling and the guy who plays the Incredible Hulk, and everyone was coming for me. And when this was like the most controversial I got, and everyone was trying to cancel me. And at the time, I was doing television commentary for the cage fighting here in Romania. And when I went into work to commentate, the owner of the organization called RXF, which is like the Romanian UFC, he had a stack of emails like this.
Shit.
Where people had Googled me, found my employment, and emailed him saying I'm a misogynist and I'm fucking encouraging suicide and all these crazy pages and pages. And he sat down there and goes, "What's this?" I was like, "Bro, in the West, this is what they do." And he was laughing out loud. He's Romanian. So he's reading the emails, going, "These people have no life. What are these people?" I was like, he goes, "What do they want me to do?" I was like, "They're hoping you're going to fire me."
Right.
And the whole boardroom was laughing, and they threw the emails away, and we carried on with life because we're not in a society which is held ransom. I'm lucky to live in a society which is not held ransom by these people. But in America, if I had a normal job, it would have been it. You know, it's absolutely crazy now. So, and what happens when you take away a man's speech? If a man's not free to talk, what's a man free to do? That's the first way you demasculinize a man. You tell him to shut up.
Exactly.
That's what happens.
Life is extremely difficult as a man. It's very fucking hard. There is no way I can tell you to win unless you're a top tier man. I can't sit here and give you a cheat code that allows you to stay a loser and win. I can only tell you what I've done. I became extremely wealthy. I became extremely capable. I became extremely smart. I developed a vast network of individuals that nobody wants to mess with. And I set up a life that makes me difficult to damage. That's what I did. You're saying, how can I comply, and stay weak and stay stupid and be safe from tyranny? And I say to you, you can't do that. That's why I teach the tenets I teach. And that's also why I think they find me so threatening, because I'm teaching people to do exactly that. I say, listen, there's no strength of mind or strength of opinion without strength of body. First thing you need to do is go train. Don't care what you think. Don't care what you think. Too small. First thing you need to do is go train. That's number one. If you think 2 + 2 is 4, and I think 2 + 2 is 5, and we're going to argue this to the end, it's going to be 5. So you better go do something.
Newsflash, 2 + 2 is 5 now.
That's the reality, but that's the reality of Earth, right? And I teach kids this reality. I teach men this reality. And by even doing basic things like teaching young men to go and be strong physically, which is, I'd like to think we live in a world where that's all seen as a good thing. There are people in the world who sit there and go, wait. Making them physically stronger is going to affect our ability to change the narrative in their minds in real time with our matrix programming. That is negative.
We suffer from a pandemic of cowardice. We've never suffered from any other pandemic the last 3 years. People are absolutely and utterly cowards, and they do to me what they did to me to scare people. If you tell the average person you're going to lose contact with basically everyone you can speak to, you're not going to have a voice anymore, you're not going to have a bank account, you're not going to be able to make money online, you're not going to be able to move anywhere, you're not going to be able to transact, we're going to wreck you head to toe, the average person can't deal with that, right? On top of the fact that the average person is employed and they're scared of losing their job, scared of their employer. I'm in a unique situation because I'm extremely difficult to hurt. But the average person, as soon as you hurt their money, their life is over, right? And that's what we've got. We've got to a level of cowardice amongst the population where people are just going to sit there and ignore objective reality because they're scared of having this cancellation weapon used against them. So yeah, you're right. It's not that people don't agree with us. It's not that we're not saying the things that everyone knows are intrinsically true. It's that everybody is afraid to say it. And that can only end when everybody stands up and stops agreeing and playing this game and stops being cowards. We need mass numbers of people to say, no, I'm allowed an opinion. Mm-hmm. You know what? Nigel Farage, and since UKIP ended, I don't even know about his politics nowadays. I don't even know what he's doing. But he says something that was really interesting. He was asked about who runs the world. And I guess the person was trying to set him up for a question about the elites. And he said, truthfully, I'll tell you who runs the world. We do. Because we decide how much of this crap we're going to put up with. The problem is we're putting up with too much of it. Problem is everyone's a coward. And you're right. I get the same thing. Wow, thanks for saying it. Why don't you say it? And everyone is just terrified. And it really is truly crazy because fear has always been the control mechanism of man. The worst things that have ever happened in any society or any civilization since the dawn of fucking records has been done under the name of fear. Get the population afraid. What did Goebbels say? The propaganda minister of the Third Reich. Once people are afraid, give them a common enemy. They'll do anything you want. That's the Nazis knew this. Everyone knows this, right? So it's a basic playbook, but I think it's also a larger issue. I think that things like making sure people are semi-depressed, making sure people are divided, making sure people are selfish, making sure people are self-obsessed. They're trying to destroy people's will to stand up and care about anyone other than themselves. And once you do that, coupling with the fact that if you start to care about others and genuinely care about the world, you'll ruin your own life. It just makes people shut up.
We live in a world where I don't think the average person realizes how much they are lied to. From the way money works is a lie, financial system is a lie, judicial system is a lie, medical health care is a lie. It's all a lie. It's all a scam. Just go to work, pay your taxes. And that's why I call it the Matrix.
The reason I talk about these things is not to tell people I've had a hard life. It's to make it clear to people who are complaining about their own lives that the bad things that are happening to you are what you need to become the man that you want to be. I can't talk about women because I'm not one. I actually think trauma is terrible for women because it masculinizes them. They become cold. And that's not attractive, right? We want feminine, pure, protected women. I don't want a woman to ever go through anything bad in her life. I think a man should go through it for her and protect her because I think that's how she's her best self as a woman. But I think to be your best self as a man is the absolute opposite. And when someone emails me and says, this has happened to me, I'm like, good. No, what do you mean good? It's terrible. How else are you going to become important? How else are you going to find endless fire to get up and struggle in the face of the competition that's out here in the world? How else you're going to do all that with a nice, cushy life? If any man's honest with himself, think about the biggest transformative stages in your life. Think about the times you got the most work done. It was a bad part of your life. You were heartbroken or, you lost a house or broke or whatever. That's when you did shit. When everything was fine, when the woman's still sucking dick, the mortgage is paid, dinner's on time, it's kind of doop-de-doop-de-doo, little by little, do a little bit of work, do a little bit of relax. But the big events come from trauma. This is it. So it's a cheat code.
It's a cheat code to climb the mountain. So when I get a message from whoever and he goes, my wife left me, I'm devastated. I say, I understand. I completely understand how hard it can be to lose a woman that you've given your entire life to. And you've done so many nice things. And then because of one thing you did, her innate and absolutely insane level of ungratefulness has turned her bitter, and she now talks to you like she hates you over one thing you've done after thousands of efforts showing how dedicated you are to her. And even now that you're prepared to die for her, she doesn't give a shit about you. I understand that pain. But my answer is, good, it's still good. Now take all of that pain, and instead of emailing me, do this. And then you're going to become the kind of person that women don't leave. And you win.
That's all I do is work. Life to me is work. Life to me is work at the point now, sleeping's work. I only sleep because if I don't sleep, I wouldn't be able to work. Wow. If I could work without sleeping, I wouldn't sleep. People look at my life and they, especially you're right, with the marketing, they see the cars, they see the boats, they see girls, etc. And they're like, oh, wow, he's living this crazy life. And then they get around me and realize that, yeah, we're on a boat. Yeah, there's hot girls. Yeah, it's a yacht. But I'm on my laptop and I'm working. That's it. That's all I want to do is run the empire because it gives me a sense of purpose. So it sounds boring to say, but all I do is work, my friend. That's it. Wow. That's it. When I finish this, we'll talk, we'll have a bit of food, etc. I'll get in the car, I'll go back, and I will work until my next appointment. That's it. I just work. That's all I do. So it's kind of funny because people say to me like, what's the secret to getting rich? And I'm like, it's easy if you don't do anything else but work. Like I don't have any. My only I'm trying to think of what even hobby I have. I love to drive.
What is the secret of getting rich?
That's a good question. That's a good question. We live in an attention economy, so I think stage one is certainly attention. Stage two is once you have that attention, establishing credibility. And then stage three, once you've established the credibility, is finding a way to genuinely improve people's lives. The reason I do so fantastically well is because everybody who's ever followed me or tried any of the things I talk about, their life gets better. So it's very easy to say, oh, I've tried Tate's program and my life's better, or I tried this, I followed Tate and I feel happier. So then, of course, they're going to understand the brand, and that's the way to do it. But truly, it's hard work. You need to be able to work endless hours. It's extremely competitive. You need to be able to work as harder than the other guys. And that's the only way I did it. I ground to the top the old-fashioned way, and that's still what I do.
We live in a world now where I'm going to say that my dad hit me when I made a mistake, and everyone's going to lose their minds. And they're going to pretend I was somehow abused and that somehow my childhood was terrible. And I could not if he was come down to earth today, I would shake his hand and say, thank you for absolutely everything you gave me, including discipline, including understanding that in the harsh realities of the real world, there is a line. And if you cross that line, violence appears. That's the unfortunate reality of earth. There's a line. And if you cross it, violence will appear, either from a cop or from a guy on the street or from someone you don't like, or even a friend will turn on you, whatever. There's a line that shouldn't be crossed. And I learned that from a very young age, and I'm very thankful for that. I'm not sitting here saying a kid should be abused. There's a difference between abuse and discipline. Of course, everyone with a brain understands that. But he was extremely tough on me. And if I could change anything about my childhood, I'd only wish he was tougher. Because life's tough. Life's hard. And I think that the best thing you can possibly do as a man is prepare for the endless difficulty that's going to come your way. There's no way out as a man. You're either going to have a very difficult life to become somebody important, or you're going to suffer the difficulty of being invisible. What do you want to do? You want to be invisible and just hide and work in Starbucks and never have a girlfriend who truly loves you and nobody care if you live or die? Or do you want to go out there and be top G and be the most famous man in the world and have government agencies trying to lock you up for no reason, putting you in a dungeon? You have to make a choice. It's going to be difficult either way. So I think if you have a son and you're not preparing him for absolute difficulty, you're doing him a disservice. I think that's what has to happen as a man. And I've said this many times before, but I'm going to say it again. I don't think many people understand exactly how competitive the masculine world is. Men are constantly in competition with each other. We always have been. We used to go to war and fight and kill each other. I guess in some places we still do. Maybe that's calmed down a little bit. But in the masculine world of today, everybody is constantly competing for everything. The car that you want, other people want. The woman you want, other people want. The house you want, other people want. You're competing to have all of it. And how do you do that? You do that through status and money and influence and power. It's war. I don't think many women realize that when two men even meet each other for the first time, it's like an unspoken, maybe tiny bit at the back of the mind. There's a tiny analysis of, could I fight this man?
Yes.
That's real. It's super real. You go up and say, hello. He's more than a one-punch issue. Oh, he's one punch. He's one punch. He's 3 or 4. That's the reality of the masculine world because we've evolved, if you believe in evolution, but my views are mixed, but we've evolved to be in this position where we're constantly analyzing possible threats and we're constantly analyzing people who perhaps are on our team or snakes, etc. And I think that not many people understand exactly how brutally competitive the masculine world is. And I think the worst thing you can do for a son is just to raise him in a bubble. My dad, I'll say it here, people lose their minds. My dad used to just randomly push me over. I'd be like 3. You just not hard, but just get up, boy. Okay. And mom would be like, why are you doing that, son? He's like, you get pushed over. That's life. My mom hated that she did that to me. But yeah, I can give him nothing but praise. I'm really so thankful I had the upbringing I had.
Do you think he's proud of you?
I'm certain he's proud of me. And it's amazing how much strength I can get from that. It's amazing how much strength you can get from knowing that your ancestors are looking down on you and you're doing your absolute best. I also believe that God can be proud of you when you do your absolute best. And I don't think many people genuinely do their best in the world anymore. When I say do your best, people sit and go, oh yeah, okay. No, when's the last time you actually did your best? Like, I don't train to run marathons, but I know if I gave my best, I could run a marathon right now, first try. If I gave my best, life depending on it. When's the last time people have genuinely given their best to anything? There are people going through the world and going through life today that don't give their best or 100% effort to anything ever. Ever. They can't remember the last time they tried. So when I'm sitting in a dungeon, I'm sitting in a Romanian jail cell, I understand that it is a chance that God has given me and my ancestors are watching for me to do my absolute best and to show to them that I am the man I say I am. You can't become the most famous man in the world for mental resilience and God not test your mental resilience. I think that would be a very amateur way to view the world, that you can now become one of the most famous men in the world who talks about mental discipline and mental resilience and God's not going to test it. I think God's going to come along and say, okay, you want to be Mr. Famous. All right, let's see what you have. So I believed it was a chance to show God and show my ancestors and show my father that I am the man I say I am. And it's amazing how much strength you can draw from that, because I don't think many men especially understand that even if you don't have the strength to be a hero for yourself, you should have enough discipline and enough honor to want to be a hero for somebody else. And if you have other people you truly respect, you should want to be a hero for them. And I think that's the masculine imperative. If someone's going to attack your wife, that's when you become a hero for her. You have to. What kind of man are you if you're not? And you can apply that to other things. If you apply that to your ancestors, or you apply that to God, or you apply that to your beliefs or your core principles as a man, then you can be a hero anytime you want.
And there's going to be some dork who's going to watch this, some nerd who's going to sit there and say, your muscles grow when you rest. Da, da, da. I train because I don't want to train. I don't train because I care about getting the biggest possible muscles. I'm on 0 steroids. I'm on 0 drugs. I don't take protein. I don't take creatine, nothing. I eat steak and Airheads and smoke cigars. But I train every day because I don't want to, because it hurts. I train to teach myself a lesson, to punish myself. Because if I wake up and the first thing I have to do is 2 hours of exercise I don't want to do, by the time it's done, I don't feel happy. I'm proud of myself. Thank God that's over.
I was like, listen, if depression is really so horrible, why are you all defending it so fervently? So it's real, it's so powerful, it's real. Why are you defending this horrible thing? Why don't you sit there and go, you know what, you're right, Andrew, fuck depression. But they want to defend it because it's an identity. It's something that allows them to feign individuality. It's something that allows them to, it's an excuse. It's a ready-made excuse for all of life's failures. I'm a loser, but it's not my fault. But depression. That's all it is. It's a fucking coping mechanism. I don't believe it. I do not believe in depression. I believe if you really feel terrible and someone were to come along and give you $10 million, you'd probably feel a bit better. Also, just to quickly touch on this, because every time I say this, people come at me and think they're smart. And they say, well, what about Robin Williams? He was famous. He killed himself, blah, blah, blah. And I say, yeah, and I'll tell you why he killed himself. He killed himself because of people like you who are telling him depression is real, not people like me.
Right.
When Robin Williams was in therapy for 10 years. If he would have walked into his first therapy session and his therapist said, look, Robin, you're a millionaire, you're famous, you can fuck any woman alive. You coming here is insulting to people with PTSD and genuine conditions, which I believe is different. If you've been through some real shit in a war, fine, you could be depressed. If you're just Joe Schmo and nothing's happened to you, you have no reason to be depressed. I'd say, look, Robin, you've got a fantastic life. You coming here is insulting to people with real issues. Grow up and get the fuck out my office. I guarantee he'd still be alive. But instead, they start giving him mind-altering drugs, antidepressants. They fuck with his brain chemistry. They tell him to sit down. And for 10 years, every day, go through every bad thing that's ever happened to you, so you cry your eyes out. After 10 years of that, I'd jump off a bridge.
Yeah.
Of course, he thought, I can't handle another one of this therapy bullshit. And the whole time, they're telling him, you're never going to get better. You're never going to get better. Depression's got you now. There's nothing you can do. It's in your brain. Like, come on, man. This whole idea of depression being the scariest thing in the world is what's making people kill themselves. You're giving these people no hope.
100%.
I'll give you hope. It's bullshit. There's your hope. It's bullshit, and you're being a bitch. Get up and be a man. There's your hope.
But we talk about weak men. This is what's scariest about this entire agenda they're trying to purport, because their ideas, like the feminist idea and like the mainstream idea and like Logan Paul's ideas, all their ideals is if we weaken men, then if they become weak enough, they'll no longer be a threat. And I argue that point absolutely. I think the most dangerous men on earth are the weak men. I think inside of every single man, we're born with a fire inside of us that if we do not control, can destroy ourselves and other people. And if you look at men who have no emotional control, because that's what they're trying to teach us to have. They're saying, listen, you're a man, you're allowed to just cry all the time and have no emotional control, no stoicism, just react to your emotions. Do you know what happens when you tell men to just react to their emotions? Anger. You have school shootings, you have rape, you have violence. That's what happens when you tell men to have no emotional control. These school shooters are kids with no emotional control. Rapists are men with no emotional control. Violence and the bullshit you see on the street are men with no emotional control. Telling men to not be stoic is going to create a breed of violent young men who have no emotional control, can't control their emotions, and act out on them. That is absolutely and utterly more dangerous to society than me coming along saying, listen, I don't give a fuck how you feel, young man. It doesn't matter how you feel. You have duties and you have responsibilities as an adult, and you must comply and act a certain way regardless of how you feel. That is better for society as a whole, especially as I'm only teaching the tenets of, listen, go to the gym anyway. Doesn't matter. You don't feel like it. Go anyway. Listen, your girlfriend left you. Your heart's broken. You're not allowed to stalk her. She doesn't want you. Get the fuck over it. What I'm saying is good for the world. They're saying, no, act out your emotions. Cool, you're creating stalkers, rapists, and school shooters. These people are fucking dangerous.
These people cannot think. It's almost a sad realization when you wake up and understand that there's a large contingent of the world who cannot think. And when I say that, I don't mean that in some kind of, semi-sarcastic, or I mean that literally. There are people who have a strong emotional reaction to subjects they completely don't understand. There are people out there who will stand up and say, I hate Andrew Tate. Why? I hate him. He needs to go to jail. Yeah. Like, okay, why? I hate him. Why? They don't know why. Once the Matrix can program an emotional response into you, and you can't even logically, with your own words, explain why you have that emotional response, you're completely a slave mind. These people don't think about anything. They believe what they're told to believe. They're emotional about what they're told to be emotional about, in the exact direction they're told to be. And that's what the Matrix wants. It wants to be able to say a name and tell the world to hate them without even giving a reason, and just get what they want. These people are so far gone. These individuals who they cannot logically explain their own emotions are so far gone, it's ridiculous. As an adult, what you need to do is seriously analyze every strongly held belief you currently have and work out where it came from. Is it personal experience? Is it from somebody who I care about and who I trust? Is it from what the news has said? Why do I believe this so much? Why do I have an emotional response to this? Where did it come from? People don't do that. They just sit there, watch the news, watch social media. I'm supposed to hate this guy, so I now hate this guy. So I know exactly what you're talking about, Zuby, because you're right. These people cannot think. They cannot even give a reason. There's a guy on TikTok who walks around and says, have you heard of Andrew Tate around college campuses? And people go, yeah. And he goes, do you like him? And they go, no. Why? He's a misogynist. What's misogynist mean? And then they can't answer. They don't know what they don't even know what it means. Like it's almost sad. But then you live through the last 3 years and you realize that, yeah, people can't think. There's a large contingent of the world that truly cannot think.
And this is why it's so important as a person, you take personal responsibility and understand you're living in a world where the Matrix can be cracked. You can make a bunch of money, but you need to take responsibility and do it. I will sit here and say right now on this podcast that I have hundreds of millions of dollars. And if you go to cobratate.com, my website, cobratate.com, you can sign up for a free email. I have an email list, and I'll send an email a day for free that will teach you how to make money. I can say that here, and of the 100,000 people who watch it, 5,000 might sign up. 95,000 will sit there drooling, and they'll just ignore me, not sign up, and then 2 minutes later going, bro, it's so hard out here to make money. Just dumbasses. Like, you're not even trying. You're not trying.
Right.
You're like, what we were saying earlier about player versus player is absolutely not really true. If it's player versus player and you're competing against everybody else, because you are, You're competing up against everybody else all the time, and you want to also, on top of that, be low energy and lethargic and lazy. Well, then you just don't stand a chance. You're going to get wrecked. There are people out here who are prepared to work their ass off.
Yeah.
If you're not going to be that guy, then you're going to fucking lose. But nearly all the ways to make money, I was saying a little bit earlier, are Ponzi schemes to a degree. And that's what's kind of interesting about it. It's unfortunate that certain people in nearly any industry or any money generating avenue are always going to get wrecked. And that's just kind of how it works. And that's the way the whole system and the whole world works. I mean, even me, man, like I made a bunch of money on the Russian ruble. When I saw the way the war was going, I'm $30-40 million I made. I knew the ruble was going to go up. That's an all-time high now. But that takes perspicacity. This is also comes into network. The average person is not sitting around having conversations about the war in Ukraine and the Russian ruble and the financial impact of the war. Me and my team and my network, we're different. Like most people see the news. They watch the news. Okay, yeah, okay. Anyway, me and my team, we're watching the news. Okay, how can that make us money? How can that make me money? How can that make me money?
Right.
And it's a different attitude. I'm having endless conversations about the financial impacts of the war in Ukraine and whether we think that Russia's going to win or lose. And now the Russian ruble is at an all-time high. The Russian economy is stronger than it's ever been. After crashing at the height of the sanctions, when they took away the sovereign wealth fund of Russia, which is fucking criminal anyway, they did that. It dumped down, and now it's higher than it's ever been. On a currency to get a 3x.
Yeah.
It's nearly unheard of. People don't talk about these things. I'd say this another thing. I say to people who ask me, they go, Andrew, how do I get rich? And I say, okay, well, you're probably not going to get rich because I bet you're lazy, but let's say you're not lazy. The number one habit that people need to adopt, and this is a habit I had for a very long time, and I've actually recently cleared it from my brain because I've reached a point where peace of mind is worth more than money. But every single time money is spent, you need to identify how your money was taken from you. And I say taken because money can't be made. Money is taken. Because the only people who can make money are the governments. If you're a government, you can make money. You can print it from thin air or a bank. But if you're a person, you're not making money. You're convincing other people to give it to you. You're taking money from others. So every single time you spend money on anything, you need to identify how it was taken from you. When you go and buy a coffee, don't just go buy the coffee and sit down. Sit and say, why did I buy this coffee? Okay, I really wanted coffee. Yeah. But then why did I go into this store and not that store? Is it better advertising? Does it have less of a line? Do they have seating? How did they convince me to come in here? How much did this coffee cost? £6. What's the profit margin on that? Probably £5.50, £5.80 probably by the time. The cup probably costs more than the coffee. The coffee is just water. How did they convince me to spend £6 in this place? And when you sit there and analyze and you all start to learn little lessons about business, you'll learn about the importance of the signage. You'll learn about the importance of there being no queue.
Yeah.
So that if you ever run a business, I'm telling you, I say with my business, my people all the time, faster. All the time, quicker.
Yeah.
Like I have a couple businesses that are physical. I'm like, I don't want to see a line. I don't want it to see empty because it looks bad. So when there's lines, you work fast. When we're down to 1 or 2 people, you take your time, you talk to the customer.
Right.
You keep it so there's like always one person at the thing. Like manage the line. Like people don't think about this stuff. No one's going to sit and wait in a long ass queue. Maybe some idiots will, but people like me won't. We've got shit to do, right? My time's worth money. I'm not going to stand and wait in a line. So you have to identify how your money is taken from you. If you start doing that with every single time you spend anything ever, you're going to start to identify business opportunities, and you're going to sit there and you're going to have coffee and you're going to go, you know what? They could have sold cake and they didn't. Could I outcompete this place? Let's imagine I had the money to start a coffee shop right next door. How would I outcompete them? Well, I'd have cake because they don't have cake. Also, most people in here are businessmen. And the guy serving some dude. No, we need a cute waitress. His ass is fired. We need a chick. Put a chick here, put some cake in. Financial Times, business people in. People don't even think about this stuff. They don't use their brain ever. They don't ever look around and realize how they're spending their money. They don't look around and look at which businesses are successful. They don't look around and pay attention to anything. They don't look at the world and all the things that are happening and how it can benefit them. None of it. They don't look at any of it. They're too busy following the circus. That's why it's Clown World. They know all about the football results.
Right,
and they know all about Rihanna.
Yeah.
They know all about that crap, all about Love Island. They'll talk about Love Island all day. The same people who will march and fucking for labor saying, oh, the Tories are bad, labor. Watch Love Island at night. No wonder you're broke. You're a fool. You're a dummy. And no matter what the government does, no matter what a government or a financial system, no matter what they put together, it's always going to be competitive to some degree. Unless it's communism, which has been tried and they're trying to bring back, and we know how that all ends. Communism ends very, very quickly in violence because there's no other way to enforce anything. But no matter what they do or what law they make, there's going to be people who work harder than you and they're going to make more money than you. So if you're going to be a lazy dummy watching Love Island and not paying attention every time you spend money and not try and think and use your brain, guess what? You're going to stay fucking broke.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to say this now. I know for a fact when I talk about how the world works, and people say, but why would the people in charge do that? And I say, because they view you as scum. And the reason they view you as scum is, I can say this, and I'm not saying this in a horrible way. I'm from a council estate, right? I came from absolutely nothing. And I'm now at my position in life, and I know how hard I've worked. When I meet somebody who's whatever, 50 years old, and they have absolutely zero money, I don't think, oh, he's had it hard. I thought, you just didn't, you're just lazy. Your sympathy disappears after a certain amount of time. When you pull it off, you pulled it off, I pulled it off. When you've been through X amount of shit to pull it off, and everyone's just coming out with excuses all the time, sympathy vanishes.
Yeah.
It's like, look, I'm sorry, I don't buy your shit.
Right.
You were too busy sniffing, drinking pints, doing all this dumb shit. I wasn't doing it. I don't feel sorry for you people. And that's what happens after a certain amount of time. So if I feel that way, and I'm also from a council estate, imagine these people who were born as billionaires. Yeah. How do you think they view us? You think they give a shit about wrecking our currency? I don't give a fuck. You better find something to eat on the floor. They don't give a shit. This world is so much crueler than people understand. I've had people all the time come to me saying, yeah, I want to make money. Go take a half an hour and learn about fractional reserve banking. Learn you don't even know how money works.
Yeah.
You don't even know how a bank works. Like, how are you going to make something you don't know what it is?
Right.
Like, it's crazy. I think everybody on the planet has something to prove. If you walk through life and feel like you have nothing to prove, then you're a fucking loser. If you wake up each day and go, I don't owe anybody anything, I don't have to prove anything to anybody, then you are a loser because you are absolutely not incorrect. You must prove yourself to other people. You must prove yourself to your bloodline, as we just discussed. You must prove yourself to God. God hates the lazy. He can't stand them. If he gives you all these genetic dispositions and these natural God-given gifts, if you have 2 arms and 2 legs and you can think, and you're not trying your absolute best, that's the reason you're not lucky. He doesn't like you. He likes the people which show him the beauty of his own creation. He likes to give somebody building blocks and them to build something amazing. It's the best thing about being a man. You get to build who you are, right? You can decide if you want to be a funny comedian or a musician or a kickboxing world champion or fight the Matrix. You can decide whatever you want to be. God loves to see that. Those people, for some reason, seem to be enormously lucky, right? The person who goes, I don't have to prove anything to God. I don't owe all of my ancestors any effort. You know, for 5,000 years, people were dodging saber-toothed tigers and catching the plague and running from Genghis Khan just for my stupid ass to be born. I don't owe them anything. I don't owe them a thing because I want to play video games. These people are fucking losers. You should walk through Earth with force inside of you. As I walked into this hotel reception, everybody looked. Not because they know who I am, but because as I move, even if it's behind their head, people feel something and they go, it's an energy that comes from brutal competence. It's almost like an evolutionary thing where a rabbit can just smell a fox. It just knows. That's what happens when a predator walks in a room, even amongst humans. You pay attention next time you're in a restaurant. If a man who's truly dangerous walks in, nearly every other man kind of looks up at the same time. You feel it. You need to or you don't survive. We've evolved with that to live. That's who I am. I couldn't imagine not being that man. I've done that because I've been trying to prove myself to my lineage my entire life. I wake up every day with something to prove. I have hundreds of millions of dollars. I wake up and think, fuck, more. I'm in fantastic shape, 4 times world champion. Fighting the Matrix out here by myself, more. I will have to be braver. I must try harder. All I do is prove myself. So when I hear people go, I don't have nothing to prove, then you're a fucking loser. Peasants have never felt like they needed to prove anything. But kings felt like they needed to go and conquer land. Isn't that it's coincidental that the king, who already had it all, felt like he needed to go to some far-flung land and conquer it and take it and prove he's the king. But the peasants, I don't have to prove nothing to nobody. You're a fucking loser then. You're a dummy. I absolutely and utterly completely have everything to prove to everybody all of the time. That's who I am. I will prove anything to anybody. If I sit and say X, I will prove it to anyone. I can be checked at any time. If someone were to come up to me in that lobby and argue with my ideas, I would have proved that my ideas are sound. If they would have attacked me, I would have destroyed them completely and absolutely. That's who I am. So yes, I have a lot to prove, my friend.
Yeah, I think that you have to live there's a lot of practical advice I can give.
Yeah.
In terms of the religious sense, I would say you need to live like God is always watching. You may have the opportunity to do something bad, or you may have the opportunity to steal some money or snake somebody, but in the end, you're going to pay for that, and the bill will be paid. I think if you do the right thing, in my experience, if you're a person who does the right thing, firm handshake, is on time, doesn't lie to anybody, does what he's supposed to do, is honest with a good heart, is genuinely polite to everyone he meets. If you are that person, you get very far in life. I've yet to meet people who just do all the simple things right who completely fail at life. But I've met a lot of people who snake or steal some money and they get really rich, then they lose it all, or they get rich and end up a gambling addict or depressed or etc. So you have to just understand that God is always watching. He's going to reward you in the end. That's the first thing. And the second thing I will say is that you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and you need to curate your reality. I think the biggest problem with young people today is that they don't curate their realities heavily enough. The people that they want to spend most time with aren't adding any value to their lives, and then they end up wondering why they don't get it.
I think it's very dangerous to be a man in the world today. I think that if women want to destroy a man, it's extremely easy to do. We can look at my current scenario and situation I'm in, and many other men are in the same scenario. I can't think of many examples of a man falsely accusing a woman of something and her losing her entire life, where I can certainly think of ones the other way around. So, yeah, they want to turn men into eunuchs because their intention is to make us all slaves. And I say that, and it rolls off my tongue, and people just hear it and they don't actually think about what I'm saying. Their intention is to turn men into eunuchs because they want to make us all slaves. I want you to actually understand exactly what I'm saying to you, because at the bottom line of revolution has always been young military-age males, and they don't want them to have enough balls or enough forward thinking or even enough care for anything outside of themselves to do something about it. Another thing people don't understand is that a lot of these attacks and a lot of things they're trying to do with the culture, especially, they're trying to inject such innate selfishness inside of people that they don't really care about anything that happens outside of themselves. Because then it's very difficult to give a shit about your community. It's very difficult to have any kind of genuine care about your town or your country or an issue. No, they just want you to be self-absorbed, semi-depressed, because depressed people don't fight that hard, watching porn, living inside of your own mind, convinced that somehow you're oppressed for some reason, on the internet typing tweets. That's what they want you to do. And they're going to try and keep you there. And genuine masculinity, yeah, to a degree it's protective, and to a degree also it has parameters. You can't be a man who doesn't say no. You can't be a man who doesn't have standards for himself and for people around him. I've got labeled as ultra misogynistic because I believe that a man should have standards in his relationship. I believe a man should avoid dishonest people, male and female. You should avoid, if you're a dishonest person, if you lie, if you're going to deceive me, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. I don't want to have anything to do with you. I was sitting talking on a panel show saying that women who are dishonest and promiscuous are not the kind of woman I'd ever want to associate with. And I was labeled misogynistic for that. So it's crazy how they'll attack you, and they'll attack you so violently and so endlessly and repeat it so many times in a bid to beat your soul down. That's what they want, especially from me. I truly believe I'm the number one prize for them to get. If they can get me to just give up. If we can get Andrew Tate to just give up, being a man's bad. Come on, Andrew, say it. And it's like, it's dangerous, one thing, but it's actually genuinely also sad. When I analyze the situation in the world we're in today, part of me feels sad that we've ended up in this place where the people who are in charge are so evil and their plans are so heinous and the consequences so dire that they know they can only implement them if they genuinely remove the warrior spirit from every man on the planet. Yes. It's kind of sad.
Let me ask you, what is fun?
Fun is when you're...
Tell me something fun.
Something fun? I think this is fun.
Except this is work.
True. Okay.
What's fun?
Okay. Fun is when you're having a lot of joy and less work.
But what if you have joy during your work?
I do have joy when I work.
So do I.
I love working.
All I do is work. And people say, what do you mean all you do is work? Because
but
there's
you enjoy
nothing,
what you're doing.
There's nothing else to do anyway. The only time I'm not working is if I'm fighting, which you can still consider work because I consider it training. Or sometimes I'll drive one of my 53 cars in a circle. I'll go out racing around the mountains in a Ferrari, but I'll film it all and it'll end up being on the internet. So it'll end up being work.
Yeah.
So what do I do that's not work that I enjoy? I mean, I look at people who are having fun, and those are the people who I don't believe are chasing pride or chasing happiness. And I feel like they're wasting their lives. Trying to have fun, trying to be happy is the biggest waste of life. You know what I saw the other day? It's remarkable. You're not going to believe this. I saw thousands of people take drugs and stand close to each other in a big sweaty pit, like a bunch of peasants, and jump up and down listening to a song they could listen to on YouTube for free. And they paid money to do it. It was called a festival, and it was disgusting. And I see these humans stand there. I'm like, what the fuck? No wonder you're fucking broke. You're an idiot. You're dumb as fuck. You're a moron. Like, festivals are crap. Concerts are crap. Clubs are crap. What's fun? Nothing's fun. The only thing that's fun is masculine achievement and being respected for being monumentally successful and competent and crushing your enemies with your brutal brilliance. Turning up and saying, I'm going to make more money than all of you. I'm going to be more famous than all of you. I'm the best. Watch me. And winning. That is fun. And then the only thing...
that's video games, but you're doing it in real life.
I'm doing it in real life. I have no time for games. House arrest, we found a few hours. Now I'm back out here in the real world. Everyone must pay the price. But even then, the only things that I find fun now, the only thing I do for fun is, okay, I'll take my SF90 around a circle. That's a $700,000 car. My fun's expensive. I need a lot of money to even find anything I find remotely entertaining. A beautiful friend of mine, she's in Bali, and she's like, I can't wait till we're free. We're going to go to Bali, look at this villa. Da, da, da. I'm like, if I went to that villa, do you know what I would do? I was like, what are you doing there? She's like, oh, I'm doing yoga, and I had breakfast, and then I'm looking at the forest, and we're going to go see the monkeys. Da, da. So if I went to Bali, do you know what I'd do? I'd sit on my laptop. I would turn up at the villa and go, which room's mine? Okay, laptop. Coffee, please. Coffee, laptop. It'd be the same as Romania in Bali. And when I go to Dubai, it's the same. That's what I do. I work.
And this is the thing, like, nobody's going to wake up and look at Bulldog Mindset and go, you know what, that John guy, he's a good guy. I'm going to dedicate my day to getting John a Ferrari.
Right.
Like, it's not going to happen. If you want a Ferrari, you got to make a Ferrari. If I want a Ferrari, I got to get a Ferrari. Anyone who wants a Ferrari has to go get it. This is a simple truth of earth, especially being a man. And this is kind of one of those things I've noticed. There's a really weird phenomenon happening, but I've noticed lots of men starting to kind of complain and bitch about how easy females have it, or women get it easy.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, women do have it easy. But what, you're jealous of chicks now?
Right.
Like, I would like, that's how big of a bitch you are. You're jealous of a chick. Like, I think being a female would be a disaster. Yeah, okay, if you're a beautiful female, thank you. If you're a beautiful female, you get some advantages in life. Of course you do, because beauty's a currency. But the idea of actually living life as a female, there's no conquest. There's nothing. I mean, what do you really do? You get a guy, you love your guy, maybe you get some nice meals, you buy a handbag, you get pregnant at the end. There's no conquest. There's no domination. So being a female would suck. But you're sitting here jealous because a female gets to ride in a nice car and you can't buy one. You're a fucking punk.
All the trauma and bullshit I've been through in my life are the best things that ever happened to me. Because as a man, if you've not had a difficult life, you cannot be good at being a man. Being a good man and being good at being a man, they're two slightly different things. But to be good at being a man, you need to have been through so much shit that when the Matrix deletes your entire life from the internet and starts lying about you at mass, and people start doing protests and wanting you fucking hung, and they're looking for your family members, and reporters start calling every ex-girlfriend you've ever had, trying to convince them and bribe them to lie, to come out and say you're something you're not. When they're genuinely out to put you in jail, that you can sit there and be focused and stoic enough to go, you know what? Okay, what's the chessboard? What's going to happen? Who's trying to shoot me right now? Nobody. Okay, so it's better than it was a couple years ago. Okay, so X, Y, Z, and plan through it, right? You're never going to be capable as a man if you've not had trauma. The best men ever have had trauma. If you call a police officer, you need a brave police officer. He ain't going to be brave unless he's been through shit. Yeah. He's not going to be brave unless he's been through shit. So we also, as a society, sit and look at men and go, there's two kinds of society. There's the matrix society, but the true society, the true women with a brain, they actually, I want a man who's strong, who's supportive, who's intelligent, who financially provides, etc. Then you're going to want a man to some degree who's been through some shit. Yeah. And a man who's internalized it and used it as a weapon. And this is what I say to people. People email me their long lists of all the bad things that happened to them. And I reply, fantastic. You are so lucky. You have all the building blocks to become the exact kind of man you want to be. If none of this shit happened to you, when something else bad happens to you later, you wouldn't be able to deal with it. Fantastic. And he goes, no, but this. He replied again with more excuses. Say, why are you making excuses? I just told you what happened to you is a good thing. You need to reframe your mind. Bad things happened to Batman. They killed his parents. Do you understand? That's why he's Batman. You've just told me you have the building blocks to become you might become top G when I retire. Fantastic. What are you complaining about? He goes, well, what do? I said, you need to work. Take all that trauma. If you're truly heartbroken, my friend, and we've all been there as men, if you're truly heartbroken, you can't sleep. That means you're going to get in fantastic shape.
You better hit the gym. You have nothing else to do. Stop watching YouTube. Stop emailing me. I want pictures of you in the gym. Get to fucking work. Heartbreak's a fantastic motivator, as is depression, as is sadness. Great. Look at what's pissing you off and make sure it never happens again. If you were jacked and rich as fuck, she probably wouldn't have left your ass. So get your shit together, right? So this is so important. Trauma is such an important part of being a man. And the Matrix talks of trying to say that trauma is terrible and avoid trauma, or if you get trauma, take a pill, and that's unrealistic. Trauma is going to happen to you, and you as a man need to internalize it, accept it, and weaponize it to become the best version of yourself you can be. And that requires mental strength and stoicism. It does not require, be more emotional. If you're more emotional, you're going to fall apart when shit happens. You're going to end up like Logan Paul, crying your eyes out on TV like a bitch.
Go out there in the world and ask 100 people if you like Andrew Tate or not. And the ones who say yes and the ones who say no, do an IQ test. And I guarantee you, the biggest idiots out there